Deeply rooted in the traditions of resilient community and rich culture and heritage, the Vietnamese people have endured centuries of history and change. On April 30th, 1975, the world witnessed the fall of Saigon, marking the end of the war in Vietnam and the beginning of a mass exodus. There were 4 major waves of refugees, each carrying unique stories about loss, displacement, survival, and hope as they fled their homeland in search of freedom, safety, peace, and refuge. Almost 50 years have passed since 1975. During this time, members of the 1975 Vietnamese diaspora have continued to grapple with the enduring impacts and legacies of the war, which remain deeply embedded in their hearts, their minds, and spirits. The upcoming 50th anniversary is not only a time for commemoration and remembrance, but also for honoring the resilience of the diasporic communities that emerged in the wake of 1975. Massachusetts is home to one of the key Vietnamese enclaves in the United States. Today, the Dorchester neighborhood in Boston contains the largest Vietnamese American community in the New England region. The vision of the memorial design for the 1975 Vietnamese Diaspora Memorial project is to establish a permanent art installation on public land within the Saigon Cultural District. In response to the prevalent lack of diversity, equity, and inclusion in public art and placemaking in Boston and beyond, this project emphasizes the need for spatial justice art to reflect local voices and experiences, to ensure accountability through an accessible city engagement process. Ngọc Trăng Vũ, the lead artist for the 1975 Vietnamese Diaspora Memorial Project, is a Boston homegrown artist and a Vietnamese refugee herself. Ngọc Trăng is deeply committed to creating art that pays homage to diasporic families and communities impacted by the war, in order to foster ongoing engagement among families and communities, to address loss, grief, and to build connections across generations. The memorial design that Ngọc Trăng is currently developing reflects the lived experiences and narratives of the Vietnamese diaspora. It embodies the cultural values, resilience, and pride of the community while honoring the perilous journey many undertook during and after the war in Vietnam as they sought refuge and rebuilt their lives in new lands. Over the past 8 months, the 1975 team has been actively engaging with the community, collecting, documenting, and archiving their thoughts and stories to inform the memorial's design. The following common themes have emerged and are now embedded in the preliminary design and art-making process of the memorial. The preliminary memorial design has been shaped by 4 crucial factors that were informed by our engagements with the community. Factor 1. Grounding in Vietnamese heritage and culture. The first factor that contributed to the design of the memorial is deeply rooted in the rich culture and heritage of Vietnam.
So I kind of thought about having more cultural items from Vietnam, like Hanong, like one of the Vietnamese hats.
The conical hats represent resilience, protection, and unity, values that define our Vietnamese identity. Through engaging with our community and gathering their insights, it is evident that the cultural symbol of a conical hat should be incorporated into our design. Factor 2. Inclusive of all waves of the diaspora after 1975. The journeys and stories of the waves of refugees coming from 1975 shape our community's history. It is essential for the memorial to honor everyone from the mass exodus after 1975.
Tôi muốn nêu lên được cái reason, cái nguyên nhân tại sao mà mình có ở tại USA này. Đó là cái điều quan trọng để cho các cái thế hệ trong tương lai họ hiểu được vì sao mình ở đây.
From the early refugees fleeing war and persecution to those who come later in search of new opportunities, each wave carries its own unique stories that need to be shared and recognized. Like the branches of a tree that all come from the same source, this memorial will stand as a collective memory to ensure that all stories of the 1975 diaspora are recognized and honored. Factor 3. The strengths of the diasporic community. The Vietnamese have suffered colonization, a war-torn country, and constant fighting for freedom for over thousands of years. The war in Vietnam may have been over on April 30th, 1975, yet the trauma and war legacies are still very much alive and living.
con cháu thế hệ con cháu chắc chết của chúng ta nó nhìn vào cái biểu tượng đó để mà biết rằng đó là tinh thần đấu tranh của người Việt Nam.
As the 1975 diaspora community continues to grapple with their war legacies and trauma, they are nevertheless resilient and full of strength, like the firm trunk of a tree.
I think the biggest thing also is like there's been so much growth in our community, despite most people coming here with nothing, and I think that needs to be expressed in some sort of fashion.
Factor 3 is dedicated to honoring the countless individuals and families of the diaspora community who have and are facing adversity with courage, resilience, and determination. Factor 4, intergenerational connections, family, and community. The memorial will be a space for all generations to come together, to reflect, learn, and share our collective story. Like the Vietnamese proverb, "Ăn quả nhớ kẻ trồng cây." Factor 4 reminds us to honor those who planted the seeds, paving the way for future generations to stay connected to their roots. At the heart of the Vietnamese diaspora are these deep intergenerational bonds. Every generation carries the responsibility to pass down the stories, traditions, and values that define our identity, to ensure that our heritage stays alive and vibrant.
And the idea that the people in the future, how they're going to look at this, and so that the memorial has something that takes it into the future.
And those are the 4 crucial factors that contribute to the design of the memorial. The Memorial Project is community-driven and culturally informed, with the voices and stories of the intergenerational members embodied and honored in aspects of the design and art-making process. We are excited to share the preliminary design for the 1975 Vietnamese Diaspora Memorial and invite your ongoing feedback. Thank you so much for joining us.